would be lying if I said that I wasn't at least a little bit nervous about making this review.
That's it. That's my intro.
Hey, I'm Amanda, watching Swell Entertainment, and today we are talking about KCon, a K-pop convention for artists and fans alike. Now, the reason I said the opening the way that I did is because as a veteran of the internet and fan culture and the stan wars, I know the cardinal rule of stan culture. Don't mess with the K-pop fans. I know that, all right? But I am making this abundantly clear now. I am reviewing the convention as a whole. I'm reviewing the convention itself. Nothing that I say about the convention has anything to do with any of your faves. I am not insulting your faves in any way, shape, or form. In zero capacity will there be judgment on your faves. Please don't attack me. That's it. I don't expect you to be nice to me. You can have an issue with me critiquing the convention as well. You can dislike this video regardless, but I would appreciate 0 death threats, all right? Or I'll accept 1. Will you be the lucky one? I don't know. Some of my audience may think I'm being dramatic, but if you have been on the internet at all in the last 10 years, I think you know what I'm talking about. I respect the dedication and the occasional unhinged nature of your dedication. I just do not want to be on the receiving end of the unhinged parts. But yes, KCon LA, let's discuss. So the main thing about KCon that I think is really important to know if you are thinking about going to KCon is that there is the KCon convention itself that takes place at the Los Angeles Convention Center, and then there is the concert each night that takes place at the Crypto.com Arena, which are right next to each other. It's 2 separate venues, but they are next to each other. That is where I think the disconnect's not the word. There's 2 separate bits of this con that I think kind of get blurred together a little bit, because obviously it is all one con, but I do think there are 2 different expectations for each one, if that makes sense. The way that I, approach a convention that's in a convention center differently than I approach one that's in a hotel versus I approach a concert versus a music festival. I think context and venue matter. And then also this year, I don't know if it's just this year, but what happened this year as well, be a part of K-pop history live primetime on national TV. The actual Sunday night concert was actually live on the CW. Now, I should note as well, day 1, I had to leave early. Friday, I ended up having to leave early from KCon. And I felt bad because I met a viewer and who was part of a debuting girl group, and I was going to go to her panel because I said I would go to her panel, and then I got sick. Basically, I have been dealing with a stomach thing. Everyone thinks I have an ulcer. I might. It's stress, it's life, it's existing as an adult. Random foods make it flare up, but there was nothing at the con that really appealed to me lunch-wise. There was food options, we'll talk about food options and things like that, but nothing that I really was hungry for, if that makes sense. And I do try and avoid con food if I can sometimes, just because cost is usually insane. And so I walked over to LA Live to get food instead, and I don't know what it was, but immediately after I ate, my stomach was in severe pain. It was nausea secondary, but it's like a searing pain in my stomach, and I was feeling like I was gonna get sick. And the thing that you should know about K-pop fans as well is they have very impeccable style. And I have one rule in life that I follow regardless, and that is I try not to throw up in front of stylish people. It served me well, so I did end up going home and just sleeping the rest of the day. I did miss this viewer's panel, which was about, I believe, how to go about debuting as a fan group or a girl group, I believe. I did miss that, sorry. You were very sweet. You were very excited to share that with me, so I'm sorry that I couldn't make it. And then I also did miss the concert Friday night, so I cannot talk about that. However, 2 days before the con itself, Wednesday night or Thursday night, I believe. So Thursday night is when I saw this. Wednesday night is when this was filmed, I believe, because I saw it Thursday during the day. It was a video of someone driving through downtown near the convention center, showing all of the people camping out. Yeah, so this is from IHR Cobb. People are camping for KCon and the line is so long, y'all are nasty. And this is from July 24th. Was the Wednesday before the convention that started Friday. Thursday, I did not go over there and check. I did debate it, but I did not. My understanding is that people were camping out partially for the con itself, but mainly for general admission for the concert. Okay, M Countdown. I had a reserved seat ticket. There was a good deal still available when we booked this about 3-4 weeks ago now. We'll talk about tickets, costs, and all of that in a second. But there was also general admission tickets as well. And that's my understanding as to who was lining up for these, because general admission is what you needed to get into the ground pit area. There were no reserve seats on the floor. You had to have general admission to get on the floor. And obviously that's first come, first serve. My understanding is it's like most concerts now for VIP, general admission, etc., where you line up, you get a number, and you can leave once you get that number. So by the time before the con, when I went to go get lunch that day before I got sick for Friday, they had already cleared out the camping setup and all of that. That was already gone and handled and dusted, basically. And side note, I have an issue with camping out solely because LA does a horrible job about protecting our homeless population, okay? And they routinely sweep homeless encampments, and then to allow camping out for concerts and such, I think is incredibly hypocritical and bullshit. My wristband was a 3-day, okay? So I had 3-day plus GA. Each day you would go and get a different ticket. And obviously Sunday was the bigger deal. Obviously that was the one that was going to be televised, all of that. And then the other days, the first day is the only time that I saw like the lines being documented. Apparently there were other lines. I did not see them, so I don't know exactly where they were waiting, but I believe it was by 9 or 10 a.m. I'm not sure what time, but that's when they put the table out to start giving out the wristbands and get your GA wristband and things like that. The thing about KCon that I do think is really cool for someone who is a fan of multiple artists, if you are, or maybe you want an introduction to K-pop, or maybe maybe you have one group that you like, but you want to find other groups to like or other artists to like. I do think KCon is a good introduction to K-pop in a sense, because you get quite a lot of exposure to a lot of different groups and a lot of different music very quickly. The amount of people that asked me, who are you excited to see? Like, which group are you here to see? And I would be like, I'm here to review the convention. I want to make this very clear, because like usually with like musical acts and things like that, I think by the nature of K-pop and the nature of the industry of K-pop, it's very difficult to have someone get to the level of debuting really or releasing an album in K-pop and kind of be bad as a performer or as a musician. Whereas I feel like in a lot of Western art and music, especially in current day, it's very easy to fake it, and get pretty far until it comes down to the wire of performing, and I just feel like that's not something that happens very often, if really ever anymore, with K-pop. So everyone that performed was incredibly talented, and it was incredibly well done and incredibly well choreographed. So I just wanted to make that note. Like, if you're worried about like, oh, I'm going to listen to a group that I don't like or whatever, and even if you do listen to a group that you don't like, you're not going to listen to something bad necessarily. Go to KCon, walk in very easily. The convention itself, if you're not trying to get it like line drop, rope drop, it was very easy to walk in. There was never really a line to get into the convention. And this is the same venue as Anime Expo, so obviously I'm very used to the lines of Anime Expo. They had us go down to get our wristbands down into Kentia Hall. The registration lines were long, and I do think they could have done a little bit better of explaining what was what, because I didn't even fully understand. I had 3-day plus, but I didn't know if there was plus, prime, and then general, and then like 1-days. There was a lot of 1-day wristbands and things like that. 3-day plus, my total for KCon for the concert and the convention was $843, which is a lot of money. Okay, and that's for a reserved seat, so it's about $233 a day for that. Wait, the service fee was $118. You guys are scammers. I didn't realize that. I'm gonna be honest, my assistant booked this for me. The admissions tax, $24. The service fee was $118.77. The tickets were $700 total. I'm so sick of ticket companies. What do you mean? All right, the actual con itself. The expo hall, I should say. Also an outdoor area that I gotta go explore. The con floor itself feels very sparse, but it kind of needs to feel sparse because the fans will fill in that space. As far as crowding goes, I would never say that it was aggressively overcrowded. Like, I don't think they oversold for KCon, the convention itself. I think that they definitely could have done better line management at times. First day, I was actually really bothered by how few security guards that I saw. There would be people at the entrance, people at the sections, because there were certain ADA sections, certain ticketed sections, meet and greet sections, things like that. You had people stationed there. But in a fan convention like this, and this is definitely a fan convention, there's a lot of random screaming. If an artist looked at the crowd and winked, smiled, moved their hair, there would be screaming, a lot of screaming. And there would also be clumps of people around various stages. So they had multiple stages. They had the main, what they called the meet and greet stage, sponsored by Shein. Big, obvious, giant festival stage. They would usually do like little games and things like that, a couple of covers, and then they would perform, one of their songs as well. And there was a big section for this. And then there was a smaller stage that was kind of for like games and things like that. And that was a much smaller stage, but the clumps would be aggressive. Not aggressive like people are behaving aggressively, like the size of the clump surrounding the stage was a lot, to the point where I think moving forward, you may want to separate this further, because also the nature of this convention as well, especially Saturday and Sunday, what would happen a lot is different groups would come to different booths and be like doing like a little partnership pop-up with them. So then people would be clumping around these booths. I think you need to move the smaller stage to another section so that the audio is not conflicting with this stage, the big stage. I think moving the placement of the stages would be good, especially because you just have the space to spread out this convention hall. You totally could move that stage over more, and I think it would be better for sound wise and then also for crowd control, because then you have, these two clumps in separate spaces, and then any clumps that form around these stages are easier to control. However, I do think that the placement of the stage is because of one of these clumps. Because what would happen a lot as well is if there was a schedule where it was like, oh, this group will be at this booth at this time, a lane line would form basically, where it was like people lined up to make an aisle for them to get to this booth where they knew it would be a booth that they were going to. And so then they would sit there sometimes for an hour or more waiting for this group to come for the chance to see their people. They tried to control where that line would be because they obviously knew it was going to be happening. So I think that might have been the case with the placement, like, oh, this is the easiest way the shortest possible way to get them back and forth and stuff. But I don't know. I just feel like there might be a better place for that one stage. And then also on the other side of the convention hall, you would have to go through the side entrance by the food court, was the KCon stage itself, where there would be just performances happening throughout the day at random times. And then also outside, whole separate ticketed area where you would go through and get your security screening done again as well. This is where there was food outside of the food court of the actual convention center itself. The convention center does have a food court. And then outside, they did have various food options. They had a tent that was a covered tent. They had things dividing it as well. And then they had giant, massive fans to try and make it cooler. I do appreciate that. It was 98 degrees again in LA this week. We are going to melt as a planet. I don't know how often they had groups performing out there because of the heat, and because of the heat, I didn't go out there all that much.
Here's the update on the crowd situation. They are setting up a parade.
How? Why? What? We still do not know.
I'm trying. No one's answering my question.
I went and sat in on a couple of panels. Some were former K-pop idols, and then others were current groups that were debuting or wanting to promote their music and things like that. Some were fan events, some were watch-alongs. I went to a couple of things, mainly because I just needed to sit down for a little bit. Food options, is what it is. It's convention hall food. One thing that the LA Convention Center does do that is good is they do a protein bowl at their, they have a taco spot that moves a couple of times, but they have a protein bowl option that's pretty solid, pretty rice, beans, meat. It's pretty solid. I'll give you that. The booths that were up at the front that people would come to, they had a marketplace that was a lot of K-beauty brands and things like that. And then towards the back, they had a lot of more of the small business setups, like jewelry. I got this from one of them. It's a little cherry on a chain. They had, the idol group, the fan stuff where you could find things. And my terminology is so bad. Merch, but not merch. What is it called? It's the fan stuff. It's not they did have people selling photo cards or stuff to make photo cards, stationery stuff. That's a whole separate thing. I'm very familiar with photo card culture. That's totally separate. It's morphed into F1 culture, which is fascinating. The K-popification of F1, whole separate video, frankly. But there's also just stuff that is for each group where it's oh yes, here's this, and you can get stuff. Called. They sold a lot of merch, okay? There was also one booth that just sold former collabs or collabs from idol groups and such with regular brands that they've done, which I thought was very smart. Just to have a booth that was all BTS collabs and things like that. I thought that was smart. There was a Gashapon set up, a booth that was photo booths with cutouts of idols for various groups and things like that. All around, very fun, very cool. Lots of freebies that not just freebies, fan freebies that were handed to me where it was oh, here's a blind item basically to see if you get your bias and all of that. They had freebies, a lot of K-beauty samples and things like that, where it was like, oh, follow us on Instagram and you'll get this. That was nice. But like I said, the first day, the security situation, I literally made a video. I took a video, I was like, this is not up to par, frankly.
Keep pointing out security. So like there's a couple, there's a couple I'm about to pass right now. They're at the gate, like them. They're in the brown shirts. So it should be easy to pick them out because they're in a specific colored shirt. It's not just like a black security shirt. And they're at the entrances, the exits, the places to get in. But there's not a ton that I can see, if any, walking the floor to deal with if there's an issue. And when you're dealing with a fan convention where there's a lot of screaming because people are excited, you kind of have to have people roaming, because how are you going to know what's a scream of excitement and what's a scream of panic if there's a lot of screaming happening?
Like, is someone injured or is someone winking at the crowd? You know, like, we need to know the difference. And because you don't have time to like assess that, you have more security guards milling around, okay? Also, when you're dealing with any form of fandom space, if you're dealing with a public figure who has fan bases who, forget even being parasocial, like some people just get so overwhelmed when they see someone that they are a fan of for a variety of reasons. They kind of lose themselves a little bit. And so for the safety of the people, you know, that are, you know, there, that are the public figure, you should have more security around, which like I said, they did have the separate security guards around for that. By day two, it was like they had heard my thoughts in my video clips, okay? Because there was like quadruple the amount of security around, okay, by day two. I don't know if they saw like, oh, like maybe they just didn't think Friday was going to be a big deal, so they just cut the security budget that day, or if they upped the amount of security they had the rest of the weekend. But the rest of the weekend, there was literally no security issues that I could see. There was, as far as like the number of security goes, it was much more on par with what I think is necessary for this type of crowd that can be very enthusiastic. Let's go with that. Okay. So, no notes after the fact. Friday, I guess it was a little quieter, so I guess that makes sense, but still, I do think that there definitely needed to be more security milling around.
What's funny here is that I just keep hearing yelling, and then I have to hope that I get there in time. And so I'm leaving this crowd. Oh God. Oh, there's running. There's screaming.
Right, so Saturday, I went and ate, and then I went to the concert at the Crypto.com Arena. The Crypto.com Arena is currently under construction, so there's little things that are just annoying, like getting around certain places. It's fine. It'll be fine. A lot of people were sitting on the ground for general, and then they did a little kind of like pre-show with a couple of groups. This happened a couple of times where I don't know if it was an audio issue. I think it was. Like I said, everyone very talented, and I'm not at all criticizing the vocalists, the performers at all. The syncing was not great. I am not saying that they were lip syncing. I am saying the timing was off for the music itself. It happened a couple of times at the meet and greet stage, and it would happen when they were speaking as well. So it's not like they were singing to a track and they just weren't caught up or anything like that. It was like they would be talking and then the delay would be so severe that it was like they weren't talking afterwards when the voice was coming out. And the same thing would happen when they were performing. This happened a few times, in my opinion, where I was from the actual like the video itself versus the singing, but then I could see them on stage, so I know it was probably the delay of the thing itself. And then also I knew the audio was working because the breathing. Again, I've never been to a K-pop concert for one group in particular, you know, so I don't know how usual this is in general. I don't know if this is a KCon specific issue. I would be fascinated to hear if anyone who has been to a variety of K-pop related concerts could weigh in on this. Because of the amount of people in these groups, in some instances you have 10 members, 6 plus, whatever, you have a lot of hot mics basically. So once you finish singing and performing and dancing, you know, the height of physical fitness, frankly, because to do both simultaneously on key is insane. To do that, you obviously are trying to catch your breath. So the heavy breathing that it would be, I for a while was like, is it not them? Is it someone backstage queuing to them that doesn't know that their mic is hot? Because it'd be like, sorry, William. Like it was aggressive, which it would be if you finished performing. But then I was like, surely we could cut the audio for some of the mics right now and just be better at time. Like, I don't know if that's like if that would be standard or not to like cut. I'm sorry, I'm seeing the audio cap out on my my recording. that was happening pretty consistently. So I don't know if that's something, I don't know if they ever fixed that really, or if they were just like, nope, mics are on, control your breath. Stop breathing into the mic or whatever. There did seem to be a couple of instances where mics were a problem because they all had the mic that would go close to your mouth, obviously, because they're dancing as well. In some instances, some of them were handed mics, one off. And I was like, surely it's not that they're just the only one that's singing. I'm not saying that. I am just saying like maybe their mic is out and so they did that. So I wonder if there was a mic issue for a couple of performances. I mainly saw that on Saturday though, not Sunday. So the way that the arena was set up, all around seating, cameras on one side, cameras on the other side, okay? And then I think they had a couple on the side here and there, but it was mainly the two setups for the cameras. And then they had the whole stage in the middle, GA is around it. But I realized the people in GA know who's gonna be where because the clump was very sparse on this side and very crammed on this side, okay? And what seemed to be happening a lot, because they could use the whole stage, they could do everything, but a majority of the artists would perform facing to the right, okay, from me. I was in section 115, not that you care, or 113, to the right of one side of the cameras. And then they would like reset or they would do one song facing the other side. And so on occasion, my concern was that every group was going to be alternating or that they would do 2 and 1 and then alternate to the other side or something. And so my concern for GA was that there would be people who camped out on one side thinking that they were all going to be on one side for the performances. And then once they realized they swapped, we would have a mad dash to the other side, you know? And I was worried about that and trampling and things like that. That didn't seem to happen much. When they did, there were artists that would only perform on one side or would switch between, they would do 2 songs and then I don't think anyone ever did 3. I think it was usually just 2. And then they would move over to the other side and it would usually be people around the outside that were not close to barricade. So they would move, and even then the barricade pretty close. I haven't seen any videos from like right next to the stage for the most part, but it looks pretty close. Like that seems dangerous, I'm just saying. So they would mainly be people around the outside that like there's no possibility of them getting closer basically on one side. So they would go all the way around and that happened a few times. But I don't know if that was intentional where they said, hey, we would prefer if you perform on this side of the stage, but some of them would just move on to the other side. I don't know if that's something that you tell them ahead of time, like, hey, we would love if you could alternate sides, or the group before you is going on this side, which side would you like to go out on? Okay, we're gonna move you to this spot, things like that. Between Saturday and Sunday, a few groups did perform multiple times from what I saw. Multiple times as in like they performed Saturday and then Sunday, and then there would be some people that I only saw perform Sunday. Again, a lot of screaming. Shout out Loops. I don't know why you guys refuse to sponsor me. I promote you guys at the racetrack and at concert venues and such. So very helpful. Again, Loops, in case, because when I bring up Loops, some people are like, I like to hear the sounds. Once your hearing is gone, your hearing is gone. Once you damage your hearing, it is impossible to repair it really without, I think, surgical intervention 90% of the time. I don't want to go through that. So I wear Loops. It just blocks out the harmful frequencies like you screaming in my ear. That is all. Okay. I can still hear the music. I can still hear any of them talking. I can still hear the people next to me talking. The only thing that sounds very weird is me talking. That is it. Lots of light sticks. Obviously, they talked about the light sticks quite a bit. Always very fun. Obviously, light sticks were also being sold inside the convention center. Not as much as I would have expected, honestly. I expected more. Saw a lot of groups perform. Did I stay the entire time either day? No. Why did I leave? I got what I needed for the review. And also I had a dog to come home and walk. I was very tired. And again, like I said, I was being very careful with making sure my stomach thing didn't flare up again. So anytime I was like, I'm going to pass out, I'm tired, I was ready to go home. The sync, God, so it would be so funny to see like when someone's clearly ad-libbing, because like they would just be a touch out of sync and like ad-libbing and like joking with one of the other people in the group or whatever, like they'd be joking with them or something. You could see that. And so it would be like it would usually be for the fans. With the nature of K-pop, whenever they do something that's like, oh, like being cutesy with the crowd or whatever, I just know I'm like, there's so much intention behind it that I can't, like, it's not like he's just like, oh, being goofy or something like that. It's like, I'm like, he knows exactly what he's doing and it's fine, but it's just, it's one of those things where I'm just like, I can't not think like, oh God, someone said, hey, give them a wink. Or that they were like, oh, I know what'll go viral is if I give them a wink. Or if I like brush up against my like group mate's shoulder or something. Or like, I don't know, something like that. It's fine. But the synchronicity of the dancing is always very impressive to me with things like this because I can't do that. You know, I did ballet when I was 4. That's really it. So it's always very impressive. And again, the vocal control of these groups is very impressive. A couple of solo artists as well that performed, which were very impressive as well. No merch or anything that I could see being sold inside the Crypto.com arena. I don't know how I feel about that. As far as like KCon itself, I feel like there should have been a presence of the KCon merch because they do sell it in the convention center for the KCon itself. But I feel like that's an easy integration where you guys could at least be selling merch or something, because I was freezing in the Crypto.com arena as well. I walked all the way to the team store, Team LA store, which is like the Crypto.com arena for like all of the LA sports teams that are there. So I was like, I'll get a Sparks hoodie or a Lakers hoodie or a LA Kings jersey or something. I don't know. I'm freezing. I was wearing a t-shirt and they were closed because it's a concert venue. So I mean, you could have, I'm assuming it's because the Crypto.com arena, I believe, takes a cut of merch sales like a lot of venues do. I don't know if they still do though. I know that's usually the case with a lot of smaller venues, but if that's not the case, I do think that selling merch inside is a good note. I said the same thing about Miku Expo as well. I think you should be selling merch inside. A lot of times with concerts, people want something. I don't know if that's the same case when it comes to a K-pop concert as well, but outside of a light stick or anything like that, I don't know. But usually people want something to at least remember that. And I feel like there was a lot of people that went to the concert and not the convention itself. Not to say that the convention itself wasn't packed always, or that it was like, oh, there's no one here because they only care about the concert. Because there were concerts happening constantly. There's always something happening at KCon on the convention hall floor. Someone was on some stage, someone was at a booth. There would be times where there was multiple things happening simultaneously. So like there'd be times where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go to the ramen booth and get free ramen because there's a live concert showing. So obviously everyone's gonna go to that. And then it's like, no, a different group is at this booth. Good luck getting your ramen now. It would be things like that. So there's just constantly something happening. There's constantly a group somewhere, or artist somewhere, or a K-drama star somewhere. Again, if you want a crash course on K-pop fandom, this is probably the way to go. A lot of the performers, not all of them, a lot of the performers that performed at the concert were doing things throughout, KCon itself. P1 Harmony did that a lot. Binny did that a lot. I don't know about Cat's Eye. A couple of groups did quite a bit of things around. So it's just something to note. You probably could just do the concert without the other, frankly. It would always be interesting to me because the question people would always ask me, it's like, I was like, oh, KCon review. And they would ask if I was doing the concert as well. Obviously, I'm a convention reviewer. So I assumed that they thought it was just like, oh, she's obviously just going to review the convention itself. But obviously, KCon is pretty connected to the concert element itself. So they literally call the concert KCon as well. It's M Countdown, the stage itself, but it's KCon essentially, to the point where the tagline all weekend is let's KCon. The cost, it's insane, of one day ticket with a concert, even for a con. I don't know. I feel like there needs to be more at the con itself, like more to do with more variety, but you don't need things to do because your whole thing to do is you're there to fan out, really. You are there to fangirl, fanboy, fan them. You are there to fan. And so there's like, yes, free stuff, there's things to buy, there's things to do, but the main pastime is waiting for your idol to walk through the doors or walk through the crowd, basically. And then obviously things to do as well. You got panels and things like that. Honestly, I would wish the panel schedule was a little more, there was more variety in there, because there was like literally like 2 panel halls really, and then it was like a couple of things here and there, and then they would end by like 3:20 or something, because then the concert each day I think would start at like 5 is when the doors would open, but it's like, so I get it, because obviously you've got a talent, you've got the groups that need to go and prepare and things like that. So just interesting. Oh, and a lot of instances, if people performed during the day or like appeared at the con during the day and then performed at the concert at night, they would be wearing the exact same outfits, which is fine. But I also am like, is that not uncomfortable? Like to be in your gear, your concert gear all day, technically. I get it if they were doing like meet and greets and such after, like obviously you're in the same stuff, but like to be wearing it all day at a hot concert and then to go and perform in it, I don't know why, that doesn't feel comfortable to me. Definitely, if you want to do specific things, obviously going earlier is better, but I never had really any issues by going later in the day and starting later and just prioritizing making sure I got as much content as possible, and then also going to the concert and things like that. Someone apparently on TikTok saw a TikTok of a used diaper. I do not know what this entails. The diaper was apparently where the camping had been. I don't know. This is also LA. But also I have not seen proof of this, so I can't. I'm just making the note because someone I know is going to be in the comment section like, and they found a diaper. So I'm making the comment now. I haven't seen the video. No one has sent me the video. I've not been able to locate the video. And then also it is downtown LA. That's really going to be it. Have you ever been to KCon? Are you a fan of K-pop? Are you mad that I'm not a bigger fan of K-pop? Let me know. Comment down below. Reminder that I stream on Twitch. Reminder that Swell Entertainment is now available on Spotify. Reminder to use code SWELL for 10% off on Gamer Subs. Shout out to my patrons. Thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon. If you also explore my Patreon, link is down below. Thanks for on social media. That'll be all up here. And that's going to be a hell of a day. Goodbye. Let's KCon. Thank you, Adira, Amy, Andrew, Ayana, Cameron, Donnie, Elliot, Freya, Jeffrey, Jenny, Literal, May West, Michael, Nathan, Oz, Palace, Qwerty, Robert, Tasha, Tenzin, Thomas, Timothy, Winters, Wink.